morning, or depending on you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always, told out of Voice of Radio, and today I've got the best news ever. And when I say the best news ever, I don't mean, hey, this is good news. I don't mean, hey, this is really good news. I don't mean great news. I don't mean amazing news. I mean the actual best news ever. Of all the news that I have ever shared on this channel about anything Pokemon related, this is the single greatest piece of news that I have ever shared. I get to cast Worlds! I'm so happy. It's been announced today. I'm officially on the casting team for the World Championships in London in, well, actually, it's less than 3 weeks. 3 weeks today, in fact, I'll be on a train home from Worlds. Let's not think about that. Let's not think about, coming home from Worlds. Let's think about actually going to Worlds. I am so excited. Seriously, I have been, this has been my dream, right? I have had for a very, very long time, for years now, that there have been 3 goals that I have had. Number 1 was to get 100,000 YouTube subscribers. Had I been more organised, I would have my plaque ready here to be like, boom, did it. I don't. I'm sorry. It's over there somewhere. But I did it, and I'm very happy about that. One of my goals is to learn to read Japanese, and I'm getting better. I can translate most Pokemon cards now that aren't super awkward. I'm miles away from reading it properly, but I'm getting there. And the other one was to cast Worlds, because I haven't been to Worlds since 2012. I went to Worlds in 2012 in Hawaii. This was, weeks after starting the podcast. Like, the episode of the podcast I did, at Worlds was, 12 or something. It was really, new at that stage, this whole journey. And there wasn't a proper stream at Worlds. In 2011, the lovely Karl Pukasukovic and the Top Cut crew did a homebrew stream. And in 2013, we had the first official stream. But in 2012, there was a stream of the final. And I looked at that and I'm like, I could do that. I think I could do that. Well, apparently I could do that. Oh, I'm so happy. By the way, this is largely just going to be a video of me just being telling you how happy I am and telling you how I got here. I'm going to get into a bit of story time in a second of how I actually got to this stage. I'll be quick about it, don't worry. But yeah, that's kind of awesome. In 2012, I had a very special Worlds. It doesn't exist anymore, but there was a last chance qualifier back in 2012. And it was basically a 500 plus person tournament. You win, you get to the next round, you lose, you're out. Last 8 people standing get to play in Worlds the next day. And I got through somehow with a fantastic Celebi Terrakion deck, and I was delighted. And here's what's really cool. One of the first things that happened when I qualified for Worlds through the Last Chance qualifier was I got interviewed by Kyle for his channel, The Top Cut, and now he and I are going to be on a casting team together at Worlds a decade later. How cool is that? It is extremely cool, ladies and gentlemen. I am very, very happy indeed. I've been meaning to go to Worlds every year since 2012, and something has gotten in the way. I was going to be back anyway. I'm telling people all the way along, if I'm not casting, I will still be going there kind of in my podcasting YouTuber role. And I meant that. This is just a far better way of actually doing it. Delighted to say that the lovely Joe Bernard will be there as well. And you know by now, the EUIC stream, Joe and I were paired up, did a bunch of rounds together. We did for the team challenge. Joe and I have been casting together since 2016 on official Pokemon streams. So delighted to see Joe is there. And this is pretty big, because as far as I'm aware, they've never had European casters for TCG at Worlds before. There have been a couple on VG, depending how you calculate it. So I'm going to let you be the judge of that one. But they've not had European TCG casters at the World Championships. This is the first year where it's been outside of North America, the first year in Europe. I was hoping that there would be TCG European casters. Obviously, I hoped I would be one of them. And it turns out that has absolutely happened. And then they've got an announcer caster, so I'm not giving anything away here. But you can see the other TCG casters very obviously are the lovely Ethan Heggie, who, He was part of the EUIC team as well. He is a wonderful, wonderful person I like very much indeed. Obviously, Kyle I mentioned earlier. And then you got Shelby Bow and Adam Watson. I've never worked with either of them before, but I know they've done official streams on the TCG side. I assume they're doing TCG. Be weird if they weren't. So delighted to be working with them for the first time. I've never actually met either of those people in person. Delighted that I will finally get to do so. It looks like a very, very good team indeed. Oh, I'm excited, ladies and gentlemen. It is going to be awesome. So what actually happened? How did I get here? So I keep telling people that it took a lot for me to be here. And basically, if you go back, if you search right back through the channel, back to the early days, years ago now, we're talking like 2014, 2015, around that time, I did an awful lot of commentated games on this channel. I'd go to tournaments, I'd set up a recording table. It wasn't streamed, I didn't have the technology, but I'd record one game every round and I would commentate it and I'd upload it to my YouTube channel. And partly that was because I love commentating games, and partly at that point there were official streams for Pokemon, but they only had North American streams. There were no European official streams. And partly I love casting games. And partly, let's be honest, I wanted to make sure that if there ever was an official European team, that I was on that team. And it worked. In 2016, there were 3 national championships. Last year, nationals were streamed. There were 3 national championships streamed in 2016. It was England, Germany, and Italy. And I was on the team for Germany and Italy. My brother decided to get married on the day of UK nationals, which I'm still not, I told him yesterday, I'm still not happy about this. I mean, he's very happily married. They've got 2 wonderful children, but they could have done it on a different day. Never mind. And here's the weird thing. Here's the thing that set me on this path that was a huge gamble. I quit my job to do those national championships. Now, when I say my job, at the time, when this happened in 2016, I was head of business and law at a fancy grammar school in Lincolnshire. I'm not talking about a job that I, just kind of wandered into. I'm talking about a professional teaching job where I got a degree, got 2 teaching qualifications, which is not something most people do, and worked my way up to the point where I was able to run 2 successful A-level departments in a very high-achieving grammar school. I was, and I know this bit sounds bad, I'm really sorry, but my results were fantastic, and my students were happy, and the numbers were good, and I'm not going to for pretty obvious reasons, but I've got so many numbers I could share with you to show you I was doing a really good job, and I kid you not, I quit that job to cast Italian and German nationals. Because schools don't give you time off during term time to go and cast Pokemon events for pretty obvious reasons. And that was a huge gamble. Because what could have happened is that I casted those 2 events, never casted again, and completely blew up a successful career to cast 2 events. That could have gone horrendously. But it didn't. Because then there were more European tournaments. And because I'd done the really irresponsible thing and quit my grown-up adult job, I was available. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole story, but over the next couple of years, I basically went through this cycle of applying to jobs and either not taking them because they wouldn't let me do casting, or taking them because they said they'd let me do casting, and then quitting when they said I couldn't. There was a really weird situation where I took a job, and they literally said I could have time off for casting. And then one day I got called into a room for one of my 2 managers to basically yell at me for booking the Friday off to go to a caster conference in Seattle. And she was mad. She was really mad about this. And I didn't have the heart to tell her that I had also booked off the Thursday. She had no idea. She was not happy about that. So I tried to quit my job. I said, look, you told me I could do this. Apparently I can't. This is fine. I quit. And they said, no, don't quit your job. Don't quit your job. We'll find a way around it. And I said, look, there's a special event in Bilbao in a few weeks and I'm casting it. I'm quitting my job. And they said, no, don't quit your job. It's fine. So I went to Bilbao and I casted this event. And I came home and I had this really weird situation where I got called into a meeting where they presented me with printouts of tweets. And the tweet was me in an airport smiling with a bunch of other casters. It wasn't some hidden tweet. I have no idea why they printed it off and then just asked me like an adult. Needless to say, I walked out that meeting, changed the date on my resignation form and just gave it right back to them. And then did substitute teaching for a while because I could have whatever days off I wanted. I had a job interview one day where I emailed them in advance and I'm like, I will only do this job if I can have time off during term time to do casting. I want to tell you this in advance so we don't waste our time. And they went, we'll talk about it at the interview. And we got all the way through the interview. Nobody mentioned it. And at the end of the interview, they were like, hey, have you got any questions? I was like, yeah. The thing I emailed you about. And they were like, oh, you're serious about that? Yes. Yes, I was serious about that. And then I got like 20 minutes home, bearing in mind that I was not the last person to be interviewed. 20 minutes home, they phone me, I pull over, I phone them back. And they're like, how serious are you about having time off during term time to cast these events? And I went, I will not take the job if you won't let me have it. So I went, all right, we'll ring you back. And 10 minutes later, they rang me back again and they told me, we can't offer you the job because we can't guarantee you the time off. And bearing in mind they'd had to interview someone else after I left, they decided very quickly that I was the person. And I know that because of how quickly they phoned me. And it's very annoying that they invited me to the interview and they didn't give me the job because of the thing I told them about before the interview. And basically, from 2016 to 2020, there was a 4-year period where I quit my job and refused to stay in a job that wouldn't give me time off to do casting. Bearing in mind, I was a teacher and teachers can't have time off during term time. I hope you can all understand how incredibly awkward this was to try and navigate. It was an absolute nightmare. Luckily, in October 2020, I went full-time doing the YouTube. Since then, it's not been an issue. And I had like an 18-month period where I could not do official streams for various reasons I'm not getting into. And I started to worry that this was it, that it was done. And then, you know, when Worlds was announced to be in London in 2020, I went, oh, come on, this has got to be the year. And then they cancelled it because of the whole COVID thing. And then like, it's going to be in 2021. I'm like, come on, it's got to be the year. And then they cancelled it again. Not their fault. The whole COVID thing happened. So in August 2019, they were like, hey, Worlds is going to be in London. And look, I'm not gonna tell you about any contact I've had with Pokemon, but put it this way, that was 3 years ago, and now I can tell you I'm casting Worlds. It was so long between knowing Worlds was in London and finding out if I've been picked to be on the team. Oh, I'm so happy. And obviously, like, a huge thank you, because I know an awful lot of you watching have been part of the journey. You've supported me and given me encouragement and been part of the reason I get to do what I do and, you know, get to be on these streams. Because if nobody ever watched my videos, I wouldn't have ever gotten on the team in the first place, because I wouldn't have put that resume together with my videos. And similarly, you know, I'm doing this full time now because of you guys. And if I wasn't doing this full time, I'd be teaching. And we've just had the conversation about how if I was teaching, there's no way I would be able to be on the casting team. So a sincere thank you to anyone that's ever supported me in any way. And this is, I kid you not, I told you at the start of the video, this is the best news ever. And I meant it. This is literally, from a professional standpoint, the best news ever. You guys have no idea how much I want to cast the World Championships. I have worked since 2012, when I started the podcast and I went to Worlds and I saw them stream the final. It has been a solid decade of going from the podcast to the YouTube, getting on the casting team, literally blowing up a career I'd worked. Because I was a good boy, right? I did my GCSEs and my A-levels and I went and did a degree. I did 2 teaching qualifications. I worked so hard to get into a teaching job and be good at that teaching job. And then I just got rid of all of that for the chance of casting Pokemon events, which was really, really irresponsible. And I don't think he is, but shout out to my friend Tom if they watch him. Tom and his Mrs. Abby, I went to see them when I was wrestling with this decision of whether to quit my job to do casting and try and get the YouTube working. And they were like, yeah, do it. As a side note, if you want impartial advice on whether you should quit your job to be like a freelance caster YouTuber person, don't ask a director of photography and stand-up comedian, because they are not objective and they will tell you it's a good idea, but actually it turned out to be a very good idea. Do obviously make sure you're watching the stream, because I'm so excited about the stream. It's going to be absolutely amazing. I've watched every World stream, obviously. I've not been at anyone that's had a stream, which is really sad. And I've been on international streams, But oh, ladies and gentlemen, actually getting to do the casting, I literally do not have the words to tell you how excited I am. Right, that's enough rambling from me. Thanks for all the support. Hope you all watch. The lovely messages are flooding in, and thank you so much. You guys are awesome. So yeah, comment, like, subscribe, Twitter, Patreon, all that good stuff. Thank you very much for watching. I am incredibly happy, and you've been watching an incredibly happy PTCG Radio. Bye!